Now, here we go. This is sure to be an interesting match. All right. Defending European regional champions EON Synergy fighting their way back to Vancouver. But the challenger North American team, Steel Jaguar, wanting a piece of that pie. But
EON Synergy, one of 2 European teams left in the tournament.
All right, we are over on the Steel Jaguar side. Nobody dropping Alpha Lance. An empty Alpha Lance coming out of Steel Jaguar. What do we got on their mechs here? Summoner, Hunchback 2C, Arctic Cheetah. Nothing too surprising there. Mauler MX-90, Grasshopper, Mauler MX-90, and an Arctic Cheetah.
That's interesting.
They're taking the Kappa flank. This is something I have not seen in quite some time. Take a look at the build. 6 Ultra AC2s coming out of the Mauler. This is not the first time. Actually, I do remember Tourmaline Desert.
EON looking downfield at their Alpha Lance and don't see anyone.
And these are blind lances, so they do not see any of this stuff occurring, but now they see Tear Up and Magician moving down this flank. So the jig is up. They see these guys moving heavily towards Kappa, but this really has changed the landscape of the battlefield instantly on the spawns. Like, they had no way to counter-strat each other based on the spawn positioning on the initial, but good scouting right off the bat, and of course Tear Up taking the shot, kind of giving it away. But 2-cap now in favor of Steel Jag over 0 coming out of EON Synergy. EON Synergy is going to have to come up with some new angles here, probably ones that they aren't used to because of the new position of Steel Jag. This could be an interesting wild card just to kind of mix things up here. Lizzie taking some hits down to 93, Legolas at 92. That Spire's a bit of a death trap when it comes to striking. It's a great position to fight from, but if you continue to chain those strikes up there, you will continue to land quite a bit of damage on these mechs. Looks like somebody is moving up. Da Red going up for that Theta cap. He's pretty much unopposed at this point, so he'll be able to get it for free.
Yeah, I don't think SJR has any angles to stop Theta. See, here's the thing. EON can run Epsilon, Theta, Sigma, and I think do that fairly comfortable with how SJR is spread out right now.
I think SJR is banking on this new angle, giving them the ability to get some damage downfield. I think they're willing to sacrifice some tickets in favor of winning on the trades. And so far, it's hard to say. I mean, they've dealt damage, but they've got 2 mechs of their own that have taken quite a bit of damage as well. Tear Up and the Magician, of course. Their lights could make a play on Sigma at this point, though. And Lizzie and Legolas are caught in the open a little bit. There is a ridge line protecting them, so they're
such
actually
an extreme long-range trade, though.
It really is. So, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason we don't see people operate in this region all that often.
And
but
there's the 3-cap, but what does SJR do now? How do they approach this? They're moving
mechs up to the front here.
Now they're moving kind of across Death Valley here,
which isn't bad. I mean, they're not going to get jumped in Death Valley.
Not going to get jumped, far away, but you got to wonder how they can peek from.
You know what? They're almost just trading positions. They're going to go up and take Hoop, and they're going to force EON Synergy back into the Epsilon corner, which would give them access to potentially a 4-cap if they can execute it. Maybe that's their plan, is just to force them back. But that requires some really good damage downfield. If they can get EON Synergy to button up and stop trading as much, they could potentially do that. But if EON Synergy sticks to their guns, goes power position, and starts putting that damage and playing whack-a-mole successfully, Steel Jag is going to get torn up. But it looks like ultimately this is just becoming a trading of positions in a way. None of those mechs are getting their shots downfield. A nice strike, though, on Funky Cat. Really light on the damage as people maneuver, but this 3 group over here could get run up on here in a second. In fact, we got a Hunchback 2C
the ring need to start putting some fire down.
Dungeon Keeper getting up in their grill, but yeah, this Summoner and the 2 Hunchbacks, they could easily get run up here if they're not careful. Cornite is not looking, and if that Hunchback 2C takes a peek on it, they're going to be face to face. Somebody's going to die here. Is Dungeon Keeper putting his back to that mech, though? Oh,
Yeah.
Cornite with the gank! Dungeon Keeper was pretty much completely fresh. Did not see Cornite there, and a good solid burn to the backside takes him out. That's a big play by Cornite right there. That could set the tone for this.
So much.
That really does. So now they've got, they've got EON Synergy a little backed up, not all the way back to Epsilon Corner, but they could send a light off to Sigma if they wanted to. They're not doing it yet, but I think they're still focusing on just putting this damage downfield. They've got to find good trade points, though.
Stage. They can take stage again, put this fire down again, and taking out those those hunchbacks with the high mounts. They carry a lot of medium lasers on them as well. They're pretty good late game mechs too.
So, and that was their forward mech too. So they've got some people moving up this right flank here. The Wolfhounds, the Wolf Pack, looking to get involved. And SJR's spread out enough that these guys could do some damage. Dracula's about to get a bit of a surprise here as the two Wolfhounds getting right up in him. Good burn on Da Red, but he's in trouble. Cornite is pretty hurt, but he's coming around the backside.
Dracula's hurt. Cornite's hurt as well.
Dracula goes down hard, and that was a big win for those Wolfhounds. That was a big win for the Wolfhounds to basically even that up. And so a hunchback apiece on both sides, and Cornite still extremely damaged. That was actually the healthier of the two hunchbacks that just got taken out. So where are the lights? Gut is sitting right in the middle here. Where's the other light for SJR that he was not there to help them? They should have been watching that right flank, backing them up, and that was almost a predictable movement.
Quicksilver in the Mauler is out in the open by Theta. He's taking a ton of fire.
Oh, man.
That's a bad play by Quicksilver. How did he get that far out in the open?
He went up and over hoops somehow. I don't know how that happened, but the Wolfhounds now getting in on the backfield of Jaeger. The lights have finally arrived, though. If they can take these lights out, that's going to be a big win for SJR, but they need to get a leg, and Gut gets legged. Not a good trade.
No. And the Red's going to get away with it at 41%.
And Colonel O'Neill coming in to get a shot as well on Ruza. Is he missing a PPC? Looks like no, he's not. But that was not a good trade for SJR right there.
No, it was not. Jaeger took a lot of damage there.
Oh, Tear Up gets killed
Tear Up goes
walking
down.
across stage. Not looking good for SJR. Their Ruza is still pretty fresh, but it's going to take a really crazy play here.
And here
for
goes
this
Gut. He's going down.
Magician able to get Legolas down, but Igor kills Jaeger. And 3 mechs remaining for SJR, and this is just going to be a bleed out. Ruza gets legged. He's not long for this world. Cornite is in dire straits as well as Igor comes around and gets burns in. But there's a lot of just key plays there that stacked the deck against SJR. I think those lights needed to be on that right flank. That was a predictable movement of those Wolfhounds coming up that right side, and they had their lights kind of just meandering in the middle instead of backing up that flank. And I think that was a misplay by SJR.
I'm not sure what the lights were doing there because
they weren't able to trade
in the middle of your team doesn't help anyone. You either got to be capping or you got to be watching the flanks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe they expected the Wolfpack to get into them, but then they had their hunchbacks out on that right side. So a great gank by Cornite falls short because the trade back was just so severe against them, not only taking out their hunchback, but also legging a light and getting away with it. And just in general, it seemed like some mechs were just getting thrown out. Quicksilver coming across the middle, getting picked. A lot of people just getting caught out. And I think SJR can do better. And I think they're capable of doing better, but that was just a lot of what the hell are they doing stacked up all at once there, it seems.
Yeah, and kudos to EON for, after losing Dungeon Keeper on just a really unfortunate play there.
I mean, it was a good heads-up play by Cornite and a well-placed rear core, too. I mean, that was a steady hand.
Yeah, but that's a tough loss.
It is.
Tough loss. And yet they were still able to pull that back despite being down 1 mech, aggressive with the Wolfhounds again. We talked about it earlier. EON synergy with one of the best light mech pairs in the game, and Igor and the Red. So those 2 mechs, again, I think kind of the difference maker in there.
Absolutely. But, yeah, I mean, you got to protect yourself against those Wolfhounds and trade better and not run out into the open. I think this is one of those things where we can see SJR swing this around really in a drop-by-drop basis where it all went wrong for them there, but I think they can fix it here, even in drop 2. I don't think this is something they have to go back to the drawing board for. I think this is an execution issue. Very interesting strat by SJR. Like, I've not seen something like that done really ever on Tourmaline Desert, and it could have worked. That's the weird thing. It took a little bit too long, in my opinion, for their main body to get from that far back position up to the hoop. A lot of touring, not a lot of killing. It seemed like their hunchbacks and stuff were able to slow their roll a little bit, that they didn't get burned out. But it allowed EON to shift back over behind stage, which kind of SJR's advantage, I guess, of their position kind of went out the window with that. But
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of that strat. I am a fan, though, of seeing new strats in play, especially in competitive play. But that one did not go as planned, it seems. And we're going right back to Tourmaline.
Going right back, and SJR picked that over Mining Collective. Maybe they think they can clean it up.
Yeah, they are switching sides, of course, but yeah, and I mean, maybe it's something where they felt like Team 1 was weaker for some reason, so they opted to do something strange for Team 1, almost being like, well, let's give it a shot. You know, if they felt that they're not a strong Team 1 trading team, you know, perhaps kind of doing something different, trying to squeak out a win, and then coming in strong for a Team 2 Tourmaline. Maybe that's part of their plan as well. I mean, sometimes you got to lose to win. You know, maybe that's a terrible...
Is that how that works?
Is that how that works?
That was pretty bad.
That was horrible. But I don't know.
I'd rather win to win.
I think Steel Jaguar can make a statement here in drop 2. I've seen these guys do it before. I kind of believe in them in a fashion that they can take this to a game 3. But it's gonna take some pretty good execution, and it's gonna take a really strong answer to those Wolfhounds for EON Synergy, or at the very least to the light mechs for EON Synergy. And it looks like they got Zelaglock back, so they're actually taking Dungeon Keeper out and replacing him with Zelaglock.
For Dungeon Keeper's moment of fame in there, drop 1, getting shot in the back.
Ah, that's rough. So we're waiting for those guys to ready up, get in their mechs, and get into the new drop. Let's just hit up the map here real quick, just to kind of explain how it went on.
A lot going on there.
Really, yeah. I mean, they had nobody in Alpha Lance. And like I said, in the tournament client, Lance positioning is blind. So EON Synergy thought there could have been somebody at Alpha and didn't see it. Now, Charlie Lance then immediately walks back to Fox 7, but as soon as Tear Up takes his shot, they might have been discovered, but as soon as Tear Up makes his shot into the Spire with his Grasshopper, at that point, there's no doubt about it that you've got mechs in Fox 7, and EON can then start maneuvering to compensate. Whether or not Tear Up was just taking a target of opportunity on that burn, or whether or not he was seen and then decided to take the shot because he was seen, I don't know. But either way, there was no shadow of a doubt. Once that laser went out, everybody knew where everybody was. And they effectively set up their initial line here in Fox 7. But they did have their hunchbacks and stuff trading back in like D7. I think it was that far back. I think it was back in D7 for those guys. They think that at some point they did get up into E6, though.
Yeah, they were pretty far back at the beginning. Kind of maybe on that... Oh, see, I'm doing the wrong color again.
What are you doing? Yeah, they pretty much got up in front of that Spire.
Yeah, right about there.
Yeah, I would say that's probably right. So then EON Synergy takes their opportunity to pretty much shift over and take the stage area. SJR jumps down into Death Valley, moves up to take Hoop, and trade into them. But then really we had a nasty pack of guys in there, and it was a dirty pack. Like, there was strikes going on. Some of them were hitting the overheads, but really, that was just a nasty place for those strikes to come across. Hunchback watching kind of off to the right, but not consistently. They ended up running those hunchbacks out to get up to this E6 region, but then you had Cornite sit back and then get that target of opportunity in on Dungeon Keeper. But really then some of the big things is, for some reason, we had Quicksilver walk right out in the open here and die right there to a hail of fire coming in.
Came
from
over the hoop.
arc.
You got to wonder, was he trying to get over to support the hunchbacks and the lights on that side? Or
maybe, but there's a better way to get there. I mean,
the magician came around this way and then wound up making it and being the last one to die, but still,
bottom line,
both Maulers kind of moving forward.
No, this is yes. Like, when you've got guys setting up there, that's the deal. But and that's how that all set down. But really, those lights coming in on that side and evening it up. I mean, it was a good gank for SJR, but that flipped right back in EON's favor as soon as those lights got in and got the free burn on the Hunchback 2C, and then also legged one of the SJR lights, and it was pretty much that and Quicksilver dying. I mean, it was over at that point. I didn't see SJR coming back from that. But we're going back in. Drop 2, Tourmaline Desert, SJR. Win or go home. They need this one bad if they want to stay in this tournament.
Speaking of win or go home, update from the other match. Russian Jade Falcon Black Spikes combo team winning drop 2. It is a 1-1 decision going into drop 3 on the other game.
Oh, man. Damn, I wish I could be watching that too.
We will have it recorded for your viewing pleasure later. But after this match, we'll be playing the winner of that match and this match to determine who will be the third team.
All right, Steel Jaguar does have an Alpha Lance this time. They've got Marauder 2Cs, Night Gear, and Summoner. More trade mechs here. And they are going up immediately to take a look into the Alpha Lance of EON Synergy, Summoner, Supernova, Hunchback 2C, and Hunchback 2C. And the trades have begun. Is that a hard push by SJR?
That is a very hard push.
They are power positioning right up to the front and got some burns in on Qbert down to 93.
And EON's going the other way.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna. Looks like they're actually marching their way back to Rafters. And we've got the Cheetahs right up on Theta as well. Really hard push deck. This is kind of what I was saying before, where it's a hard push deck. They've backed EON up. Now they could either go for it, especially since EON's kind of back on their heels right now, or they can set up and start playing a cap game, having won the Theta region. Here comes a strike. They might be able to dodge this one. Looks like they
do
just
have
got
Chrono O'Neal way out by Epsilon, getting some shots in from the side. But he's attracted some attention now.
Yeah, he's down to 92%, but they did get some hits on a Jaeger. They're dodging those strikes just barely. They're just getting away with those. We haven't seen that many missed strikes in quite a long time, but just the SJR kind of backing themselves up. Ooh. They're getting away with it. That one just missed too. 3
All right,
missed
these
strikes
lights
now.
need to go cap if this is what they're going to play. Cornite looks like he's going for Theta cap. Both lights splitting off.
Now they have to be careful, though. EON could easily send that wolf pack in while those lights are away.
Yeah, they've got to watch that Epsilon corner. Gut turning around?
They might have seen a shift there. What do we got? They had a Summoner and stuff heading over to... Epsilon can be held down from that Spire. It's very difficult to cap it, especially when you get heads up that somebody's heading that way. Jaeger did take a little bit of that strike right there. But SJR holding 2 caps.
Slowing down the game, going for the cap strat. It looks like EON might be rotating towards Epsilon. Yeah, I'd like to see... well, I guess they've got the Ruza and the other Arctic Cheetah now going for Sigma. I think they might have been able to send Gut back there. But
EON is already responding to this. Now, we've seen EON do this before. It leaves Gamma wide open. They could send somebody up to Gamma, especially if they see the shift happening. But EON's done this before, and they've been able to make a huge presence, even all the way down to the CSJ Hill. If SJR is not careful, they could get twisted on here, and being up on stage with absolutely no cover on the left side would be devastating for them. If they stagnate here and just continue to do loose trading with EON moving that aggressively off to the left, it could add up to disaster for them. They have to be careful. Look at how packed up these guys are. Some good strikes in there now would be devastating as well.
There goes one, and it only hits Jaeger. You got away with that one.
Yeah.
Look at how lined up
they're going to continue. Oh my God! And are they pushing? They've called the push, and they don't even have one of their lights with them. They've called an aggressive push off to the left side. Lots of fire going back and forth. There was a firefight for sure. They're getting underneath Zelaglock, so they're taking away his opportunity here. But they're getting in underneath that Spire. They took a lot of damage from that that push there. But they're going right up into the kill box.
Are just in. Here goes Gut on his own.
What is happening here? Gut running up in the middle. Zelaglock is right above their entire team, shooting them in the back as they pass underneath. They can't ignore him for long, but they're going hard with this push deck right into the middle of it. Gut down to 63%, and he is lagged. That's devastating. Oh, a huge strike across 3 mechs. Hubert takes out Tear Up. Magician goes down. Core Knight does manage to get Lizzie. But they're in brawl range now, but they're still basically rolling on trade mechs. So it's not even like they have.
Ruza finally comes into the fight, but this is.
There's still some kill going on. I mean, Legolas is in dire straits. Quicksilver, though, at 37%. It's stacking up quickly against SJR, but they did score a kill on Legolas finally. They're getting in there. Qbert down to 52.
Ruza is legged.
Dracula goes down, Ruza goes down, and it's starting to add up against. I don't know if they should have done that push. I mean, they.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree
even
with
if
that
they
push
weren't,
either.
even if they weren't trading well, they had opportunities to play that cap game, and I don't know. It looked like a desperation move. They felt like they had to do it, and they did it without their other light mech even in the fight.
I'm shocked they didn't just spread out, trade a little bit. I mean, that was so early on, less than 5 minutes into the game. That was what, like at the 3.5, 4 minute mark,
hitting like 200 tickets on them and stuff. It didn't. Yeah. I don't think the push needed to happen, but something made them feel that they had to do it. But yeah, I mean,
there you have it.
There you have it. EON Synergy moving on. SJR has been knocked out. They're the 7th team now to be knocked out of the tournament. And that is all she wrote for Steel Jag. EON Synergy is going to be moving up to play the winner of Osiris versus RJFS. I'm assuming they've already launched, right?
They have already launched.
Oh, damn. I wait with bated breath to see the results of that match. Who is EON Synergy going to be going on to play? That match, of course, coming up in 20 minutes. The winner of Osiris versus RJFS against EON Synergy. We could see 2 European teams go head-to-head here.
Look at Qbert doing 735 damage in the Hunchback 2C. Core Knight with 670 in the Night Gear, but Bravo Lance there. The lighter Lance, 2 Hunchback 2Cs and 2 Arctic Cheetahs. Just very low damage output by those mechs. You know, that push was, I mean, even the timing of the push was, I think, not very good, but the push itself wasn't that great either. They were lined up like in a Congo line almost. For most of that first
they were
push
swinging
out.
the door. I mean, they wanted to swing the door, but I don't know. Maybe they had some misinformation or something. Maybe they thought it wasn't as strong of an EON movement over there. Maybe they thought people were still up on rafters, but we saw that EON shift left. Maybe that's something we saw, but they didn't. And EON just basically set up a kill box that SJR fell into. So we can easily say, well, that was a missed call, but maybe SJR didn't have all the facts when they made that call, or maybe they thought that they had the firepower to get it done. But I would have liked to see SJR continue to slow roll it. They did need to come up to an answer with an answer to EON Synergy's flanking shift, but that didn't necessarily mean that they had to.
But they had Kappa, Sigma, and Theta at that point,
and they could have gone Gamma.
The 3 cap.
They could have run somebody off to Gamma easily. So that would have put a lot of pressure on EON Synergy to be the ones to make the move, and I think their move would have been a push to CSJ Hill, as we've seen them do in the past. Steel Jaguar could have known that and come up with an answer to that ahead of time, but opted for the push instead. And maybe they thought EON was in some sort of transitionary phase and that they were going to catch him out. I don't know. But we have obviously a bird's eye view that they are not graced with, so they don't necessarily have all the information we do. And they made the call, and it did not go as planned. So SJR losing in a 2-0 series in favor of EON Synergy. But I am certainly waiting to hear the results of that other matchup so we can see who's going to be going up against EON Synergy in this next match.